All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Josh, and I'm going to be your presenter today. It is promptly 1 p.m. Eastern Time today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. A couple things before we get going on our topic about exporting the Church Windows directory. We're only going to work till 1:20, so about the next 20 minutes or so, maybe less, depending on how long it takes for me to kind of move through this material, how many questions we have. If you've seen at any time what you came to see, you may of course choose the file, exit, leave webinar event. Thank you in advance for attending. If you have questions, please type those in the questions portion of the webinar for me. I think I'm going to have somebody logging in here to help me answer questions here shortly. I will try my best to keep an eye on those, and if nothing else, I'll certainly be happy to try to see what I can't do to address your questions after I'm done, discussing the topic at hand. If you haven't ever attended a webinar event, you can click the little red arrow at the top of your control panel there. That minimizes that. It gets it out of the way. It allows you to get a better visual perspective on the topic here we're discussing today. Or if you've got a dual monitor set up, you can just drag that over onto your second desktop. So we're here to talk about exporting the Church Windows directory. There are actually a couple of really nice options for this. We are working with our new version 19.16. This really hasn't changed much between 17, 18, and 19 subsequently. There's a few things we've added to it, but the functionality is essentially the same. I am going to be using part of the webinar today is going to be spent using the membership M204 workbook, pages 27 to 30, talking about exporting the directory. I'm going to be talking about that here at the end, so probably the last 10 or 12 minutes or 15 minutes of the event here. So, here we are at our reports menu. We choose reports, then we're going to choose reports directory export. This is basically how I like to term it is it's the window that controls who we want to appear on the report. Okay. The thing to understand about the Church Windows directory is that it requires the fields in their member or visitor household or individual records to be populated. The two fields that are there are called include on directory. That must be set to yes, and the directory report order code must also be populated with the appropriate field or code so as to know where the person belongs in the family. It's just those are the two important fields. Those are really the two most important fields that we need to determine or need to have added to the record in order to ensure that the person is assigned that. So right here, if we look over under our Oliver household, let me get out my highlighter here. Over here on the right, we've got Jack highlighted on the left, and he has a directory report order code of 1 or primary in the household checked, and he has include on directory set to yes. This is true for everyone in the household or in the database. So if I click on his wife Una or Rob or Donna or anyone else for that matter, we need to ensure that those appropriate people are set with include on directory yes and with the appropriate directory / report order code. Okay, so just an FYI, directory report order looks like this: primary, secondary, child, secondary, primary separately, and individual separately. Okay, the three that are most commonly used are primary, secondary, and child. Each household will have one primary, one secondary, and any children should have a code of 3. Okay. Let's close out of here and go back to our reports and reports directory export. So what that means is if they have include on directory set to yes and the appropriate directory report order code, there really isn't anything we need to choose here at our step 1 screen. Okay. The system knows who we want to include on our directory and where they belong in the family automatically. The only thing we may want to decide over here is under our include section on the right is do we want to include those in our members and our visitors database, or just those, say, in members or visitors. So if, say, we didn't want to include those in our visitors database, then we would simply uncheck the checkbox next to visitors. And then we would simply proceed to next. Terminated people will not be included, okay? So that's just important, is that, terminated inactive folks will not appear on the directory, like they shouldn't be appearing on any of our other reports. But other than choosing members or visitors or visitors, we're going to include our visitors here. There really isn't generally anything we need to check here. At most, it might be you want to choose just active members, at which point you might add status code to this. Query. But in this case, for the purposes of our webinar, we're not going to do that. So we simply proceed to next. So we've chosen who we want to include on our directory. The next step here under step 2 is which directory option do we choose? And if we notice here on our directory, or on our step 2 screen, we have two options: directory and directory export. The M204 workbook pages that I referenced earlier, page 27 through 30, are talking about exclusively the directory export. We're not going to start there. We're going to start with just the regular directory. So if you're wanting to, it really did. Okay, so here's the question lies here is which one of these options you choose is, do you like the format that Church Windows produces for the directory, and are you okay with exporting that? If so, then you'll choose the directory. If you don't like it and you simply want to export the directory information, families, addresses, whatever information you want to include on the directory over to something else like, say, Word or Excel or Publisher or some other program to manipulate it however you wish, then you'll choose the directory export. Basically, the line is drawn there. The directory option in Church Windows basically includes our formatting. The directory export option simply is just a tab or comma-separated file with the appropriate information fields and household information you select. But there's no formatting on it, okay? So if we choose just directory, and here we've got under our list of directories, we've got a whole bunch of options here with and without certain information, emails and directories, and with additional fields and, all that other stuff. So we're not going to do anything terribly complicated here. So if we do, like with email, I think this is formatted here, and we go to either export or print, because I can export the directory from either one of these options. Okay, so once I get to, well, that's not a very pretty report. We're not going to choose that one. Let's go to another one. Let's just do classic multi-column. It doesn't include all that other stuff, but you can, once you've chosen the fields and created the layout the way you're wanting, simply either we would choose print or export, because they're available at either place. There we go. That's more like it. So if we go, hey, we like this layout of this directory, we're going to use this. I can go right up here to the top here, and we see, let me maximize the screen. So right up here at the very top of our page, we see the option called export right up here. Everybody should be able to see my arrow there. That when we choose that, and we see the little down arrow just to the right of that, it defaults to exporting or wanting to export or create the export to any of the reports. This is a reporting convention that's all over Church Windows now, not just membership, but accounting and donations the same way. It defaults to PDF. So if you're okay with PDF, you don't have to do anything. You can just click export. It opens up an PDF export options. You can enter certain information here on this if you wish. You click OK. It asks you to save the document, or the directory in this case. And if we click save, it asks us, do we want to open the file? And if we click yes, there's my directory that I had in Church Windows in a PDF file. Okay? So I can now, I've got it saved as a PDF file. I can either print it, or I can export it, or I can attach it as a file to an email to folks, So if I now wanted to email this to people as a PDF file, all my members, absolutely I could do that. Okay? If we go, okay, I kind of like the formatting, but I'd like to kind of adjust it and tweak it a little more, maybe we might choose something like Excel or XLSX. Notice you still do have CSV and text document here. Those are general file formats. But, if we choose Excel or XLSX, and again, we save it, and assuming we have Excel here, which we do, it says we want to open it, and there we have our directory in Excel. Okay? It's that easy. However, if you don't like the format that Church Windows produces in the directory, you don't like how our formatting occurs, certainly you could consider using the report designer under directory to manipulate that. However, that has challenges too, so we completely understand that. However, if you don't want to do that, you might choose the other option called directory export. Again, our list doesn't change. What does change, what we are changing is the output. Okay, so now notice if I click directory export, oh, I've got one in there. Let me delete that one. That's the one I did before. So we don't have anything in the list. We've never exported the directory information here. So we would simply click new. And we'll call this our church directory export. And we click OK. It automatically opens in my version 19, our column selector, and here is basically all of the same information fields that we would see on our traditional regular Church Windows directory that you can, of course, manipulate if you wish. So if you want to take away columns from visible, you just highlight it and click the left-facing arrow to move it over to available, or you take columns from your available if they're not already under your visible columns and move them over to the list on the right. So you can literally move fields back and forth that you want to and from until the list under your visible columns includes exactly the information fields that you're wanting. Okay? We're not going to change any of that. We like the columns and information columns that are being included, but we don't like the formatting. So we're just going to export this, and we click on OK through that. It now shows our new export name. Now we're focusing in the upper right corner here on our export options, right up here. Okay. So then when we focus in on that, it's one file. It's saying, okay, where do we want to save this file? So it automatically puts it into a particular location until I change it. So if we've got it saved in this case to the documents library. But if I click that little ellipsis button, or the button with 3 dots on it to the right, it does allow us to open up a browse window and allows me to put this anywhere I want. So if I choose, say, desktop, and then I simply click OK, now I choose, do I want this to be a tab separated or delimited file, or comma? Okay. That really determines really more the file name that the file extension that it gives to it than anything else. So here, if I choose tab, it's going to be a .txt file. If I choose comma, it's going to be a CSV file. We can also include year on birth date if we wish, and we can also include year on birth date only for children here as well if we wish. Then, under my export name is where I would actually type in the name of the file that I'm creating. So notice it did put in the exact name of my export file that I had created under my actual export name. So here it just puts in our church directory export, and it'll put either a .txt or a .csv file extension after that. If I want it to be different, I can. Let's say I want to just make it be church directory export. I can just take off our, and then it leaves church directory export. And then simply I click export. So it then says the file has been created, and here's the path. So it's put it onto our desktop here. And would I like to open the folder? So we're going to say no to that because it's not really a folder. The file is sitting on my desktop. So now if I minimize Church Windows, right here we've got this export file that we've created on our desktop. It's a text document. So here now, sure, I can take this and import this text document into any program I wish. So if I say go to something like Excel, I can go to here to open. I would simply go down here to the bottom where it says under files of type and change it. It's to looking for Excel files. So I would simply change that to text files. And I would browse to my desktop and click OK. Oh, it's not letting me do that. Let's see if I've got it here. Where is it? Our church directory. I wasn't choosing that right. So it opens up my text import wizard. So here it's a delimited file. I simply go to next. It is a tab separated file. It recognizes that. Notice here we've also got one in the list called comma. And then when we go to next, we're just going to leave it as general column data format and click finish. And there's the exact information that I have in my directory in Church Windows exported into Excel in a fixed width column format. I can now manipulate and massage this data however I wish. Okay? So again, even with text or comma, Excel or Word or virtually any other program that has an import function can import this type of file format. Okay? Let's go back into Church Windows here. So again, the only difference is tab is simply how the information fields, name, address, all of that information that I'm including there is separated. So am I separating it with a tab on my keyboard, or am I separating those fields with a comma? It's just how another program interprets that information or separates it from one field to the next. Okay? But that's it, folks. I mean, that literally is, those are your two options. Do you like the directory format that Church Windows creates on the directory, or do you not like the formatting? If so, if not, then you're going to use the directory export option to again enter or export the data into another program like Microsoft Excel or to Word or Publisher or what have you. If you do like and you're okay with the formatting that Church Windows puts onto the directory, then you would choose again one of these two options here, or the option directory here. You would choose the report that you like, and then again you would simply go down to export, and just like we had seen at the preview, we've got our little down arrow here, and we would choose one of these file formats that we want. If PDF is good, then you're just wanting to email it to your members and visitors, choose PDF. But if you want to, you can also export it as any one of these other files or report options. But that's it. Okay, folks, we've got about 2.5 or 2 minutes left here. The recording of this particular webinar event will be produced and out on our YouTube channel by this coming Friday, no later than 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you'd like to revisit that, that will be there. Let me go ahead and see what other questions are out here maybe that weren't being answered. Is there a webinar about creating the directory? Yeah, I think we have one on our YouTube channel, and one more in depth, Linda. If you go to youtube.com/Church Windows, and we type in the keyword directory. Oh yeah, we've got directory templates, membership directory. I think this one is that's an hour-long presentation. That does detail how to use the report designer in Church Windows to create that directory. Laura's asking, what is the best way to add a picture to the directory? I think we've even got a movie out here on that as well. Let me see if we've got one. Yeah, we've got all kinds of information out here on our YouTube channel. Yeah, membership directory. This one, the hour-long presentation, does include how to add pictures to the directory. But yeah, that's added to the. That requires using either one of the pre-formatted directories that we have or create, or adding it to the layout here. Again, I would recommend looking at the version 17 membership directory. The report designer hasn't changed. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in here. Looks like a lot of folks may have already left already. I'm just going to give folks another 20 or 30 seconds here to see if they're typing something in. Oh, Kathy, I missed this? Sorry. Can one member of the family be marked as not in the directory? Absolutely. Just again, make sure that you go into their individual record in membership and make sure that include on directory or include on directory is set to no. Then that person will not appear on the directory. Even, yeah, we would still recommend assign them a directory report order code. Again, directory report, so it does important for reports. But include in terms of omitting them from the directory, just make sure directory include on directory is set to no. Yeah. Yeah, if we go to youtube.com/church windows, that'll take you right to our YouTube channel. And then when we click in the little hourglass at the top there, or the spyglass at the top, and you type in the keyword directory and click hit enter, it'll search and it'll find all of our options here that have the keyword directory in them, and the right one right here, Church Windows Software version 17 membership directory. The version in this case for the report designer and how you manipulate that has not been changed. So, okay, great, thank you. We hope it's been helpful. Everyone, if you have questions, of course, please call our support staff, 800-533-5227, and we're simply a phone call away if you have more questions. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and end the webinar for everybody, and we look forward to seeing you at another event. Thank you all so much. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.